And we hopefully are live. Hello there. Please give me an audio check before we get going. Rather than me sit here and try to record a video and waste loads of time, I am going to try and do this one live. I've done videos live before, and actually they usually turn out quite right. That's why I end up causing problems. Now, I'm going to do a video live, and then I'll answer some questions at the end. But what I'm going to do is get through it, and then we'll go from there. But I've got to say something first, because that sod, right, that absolute sod at your FPV, look what he sent me. That gitted FPV, your FPV, I'm going to get you. I really am going to hunt you down. So yes, I'm going to wear it proud tonight, because he had a batch of these made up and just randomly sent them to me. He is incredible. So yeah, there's definitely a nice belly there, that's for sure. That's bought and paid for, by the way. But I'm going to get rid of that with a mountain bike. Anyways, so can someone tell me the audio's working? Because I'm going to have to chop this up before I stick it on YouTube. But it's not going to go live afterwards. So it's going to go offline and then I'll edit it. So as long as you can hear me okay, as long as we are working loud and proud, I am going to go for it. We're going to try and do this live without edits. Damn you lot in the chat before we get started. And here we go. Hello there and welcome to the channel. Tonight there is an awful lot to talk about, because this week there have been leaks everywhere, and I'm not talking about the kind of leaks that I'm used to here in Wales. We are talking about the kind of leaks that get sad people like me excited, and that is around 04. We are also then going to talk a little bit about the launch of the DJI goggles N3, because that happened today. And no, I don't have a set because DJI hate me. However, some people I do know have got them, and I am going to point you towards some videos at the end, but I am going to share with you some thoughts along the way as well. Now, before we get into the goggles, we're going to have to talk about the big leaks, and that is DJI 04. Now, I have to be careful here, because there is some stuff that I've known and I've sort of been talking about and haven't been talking about for a little bit of time. However, a couple of days ago, someone appeared on my Discord server and just dumped a load of information, which basically freed me up to be able to say what I already knew. Now, if you don't know what this is, it is a dump of information, and I've put this on my community page on my website, on my YouTube channel. If I just hop to the desktop view, here you can see the information on the community page. This is a bit of an info dump on what we've got, and I'm going to walk you through this in a little bit more detail as well. Now, the real exciting thing here is, yes, there is going to be two 04 ear units. There is going to be an 04 Lite, but it won't be called an 04 Lite. It's just going to be called 04, and then there's going to be a Pro. The Pro is the one which has got everyone excited up until now, but don't be overthinked about the Pro, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on the Lite as well. Now, to walk you through the Pro first of all, this is an 04E unit that supports goggles N3, goggles 3, goggles 2, and goggles Integra. I can confirm, we believe at launch, DJI will make this E-unit compatible with all 4 of those goggles. That is goggles 3 and N3 that have just launched, goggles 2 and Integra, although you will not have all the functionality on goggles 2 and Integra, and I will talk about that a little bit more in a minute. For people who are going to ask the inevitable question, what about V2s, what about V1s? Sorry, no. At this moment in time, at the very least, V2 goggles are not having support. Neither is the original goggles. I never expected the originals to, but the V2s definitely aren't. Now, with regards to the main specification, 04 Pro supports up to 60 megabits a second live view feed, 1080p. That's what we have in 04 already. It supports a new mode called Racing Mode. That is particularly interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. DVR-wise, it supports 130 megabits a second DVR with standard mode as well as D-Log-M. It records to an SD card. It does have an SD card slot, but it doesn't have much onboard storage. There is actually a view that's come up tonight of this ear unit in a bit more detail. I'm going to find that in a second and put that up because it does give us a bit more of an overview of what it looks like compared to the others. I'll bring that up and we will look at these in a second. There we go. We'll go back to the channel and we'll come back on to them. So we've got onboard SD card recording predominantly. It has the new 1/1.3 inch sensor at f2.0. It is a dual antenna design capable of up to 33 dBm of RF output. Now, the rest of the specification is quite normal apart from one thing. So it's going to support Rocksteady 3.0. Size-wise, it's 33.5 by 33.5 by 13 mil deep. And the 04 Pro with the camera is going to weigh 31 grams. Now, there are two things that are very exciting about the 03 Pro version. The first of them is the OSD support, because we can confirm it will work with not only Betaflight OSD, but it should have basic iNav OSD support as well. Now, before you get too excited, it's not going to be sneaky FPVs fonts that you can upload and all of this stuff, but it will be, as I understand it, a basic iNav OSD support. For those who are asking about ArduPilot, I'm no information at all. It's not listed. As far as I'm aware, it's Betaflight and iNav only. Now, the real interesting thing on the 04 Pro is something called race mode, because DJI are introducing with the launch of both the 04 ear units what they're calling race mode, a mode that offers lower latency than we've seen on DJI's FPV system in the past. On the 04 Pro, DJI are saying latency will be as low as 15 milliseconds when using 04 Pro on the Goggles 3, and it will be about 20 milliseconds when using it on the Goggles N3. Now, this new race mode, we don't know a huge amount at this moment in time. The mode is obviously going to allow lower latency, but you shouldn't deem that as being the standard operating mode. What we don't know today is what the latency is going to be like in the normal operating modes. There is likely a payoff on the low latency racing mode. We do not know if it's dual transmission or single transmission. I will expect it still to be dual. We still don't know what else the payoff is for race mode. I suspect it's reduced range and penetration, if I'm honest, but we're going to have to wait and see. Now, whilst all of that is exciting, we then need to get on down to this, which is the 04 ear unit. And this is where hell has literally froze over. DJI are set to release a single board ear unit that weighs less than 10 grams that supports 1 to 3S input voltage rating. Yes, I said it, 1 to 3S. Now, of that, we have similar specifications compared to the Pro, but there are some interesting differences. So it still supports 60 megabits a second 1080p live feed. However, it does have a higher latency compared to the Pro ear unit. Whereas the Pro ear unit, when used with the Goggles 3 in race mode, is 15 milliseconds, the light ear unit is going to be 20 milliseconds. Now, we don't fully understand the reason for that yet. Is it as a result of the different camera? I actually think it's quite likely DJI have somewhat underclocked the light ear unit to try and keep the thermals under control, because alongside the increased latency on the light ear unit, there is also reduced bit rates for the video recording. It's been reduced from 130 megabits a second down to 100 megabits a second. So there are some things that DJI have had to do on the light, what I believe is most likely to keep it under thermal control. The light still supports Rocksteady 3.0, still supports Betaflight and iNav OSD, and as I've said, it weighs less than 10 grams, and size-wise, it's 30 by 30 by just 6 mil. Now, with regards to the DVR on the Lite, it does record, but it doesn't have an SD card. It only has onboard storage. The Lite is said to have 26 gigs of onboard storage. Bit weird that the Pro basically doesn't have onboard storage, but does have an SD card, whereas the Lite doesn't have an SD card, but does have onboard storage. Now, with regards to the other parts of it, the Lite is a single antenna ear unit, and it's only going to have one antenna RF output, one PA, and it has a reduced RF power rating as a result as well, down to 30 dBm compared to the Pro, which is 33. With the Lite, you're getting an ear unit that basically has pretty much all of the same main features as the Pro, but some things are a little cut back. Now, there are some gotchas here that we do need to understand with this, and I'll talk about them in a second. But what I do just want to show you is some images that appeared on my Discord today. This is another look at a Pro ear unit. What's quite interesting about this image is it's upside down. Whilst it only looks that thin, it is actually quite a bit deeper than that, because the way the top of the ear unit comes up, it comes up and over the top. We don't have any images of a Lite as of this moment in time. We only have images of the Pro. But here you can see it upside down with the SD card slot on the side. You can actually see a single board down in there. My understanding on the Pro is it's technically single board, but it isn't. They've had to offboard some stuff in the Pro, so it's more than one board, but it's one main board, but it is a different board compared to what you're going to get on the Lite, because remember, the Lite only has one PA, one antenna, reduced storage, so they are going to be two completely different PCBs. Now, that's really all there is to show you. We do have images of the camera. So the camera is 20mm wide. It has a 16mm spacing mount, which is 8mm up and down from the center. And it has 16mm from the front of the camera back to the screw spacing as well. So for those who want to make their own frames, you're talking 16mm. So 8 and 8, and it's 16mm back from the front. I have heard some whispers DJI might be trying to change this because they've had some feedback that this is a waste of time. But I don't know if that will actually happen in production. As I understand it today, that's how it's going to be. Now, as I've said, there are some gotchas here that we need to talk about quickly before we move forward. And the gotchas are, these two ear units will both work with all four sets of goggles. Goggles 3, the new goggles N3, goggles 2 and Integra. They have this new race mode, which allows ultra low latency, as low as 15 milliseconds with the goggles 3, 20 milliseconds with the N3. However, race mode is not compatible with the goggles 2 and Integra. You only have race mode on goggles 3 and N3. What we don't know at the moment is what the normal operating mode latency is, because DJI have only published the race mode latency numbers. The normal mode latency numbers for the goggles 3 and N3 they haven't published. They have, though, given a hint of the latency on the goggles 2 and Integras in normal mode, and that's going to be about 30 milliseconds. But what we don't know is what these are going to be in normal mode. So we're going to have to wait and see. There is probably a couple of other gotchas that we don't know yet. There always is with DJI, but the truth of the matter is they intend to release two ear units, and they are heavily going after Cadex, a 1S board that weighs less than 10 grams. The camera on the 1S board is said to basically be the same as the camera in the Neo. I didn't mention there, but the width of the camera is going to be 14mm, so it's going to be like that camera there. We're going to have to wait and see what the image quality is like. But yeah, overall, it is incredibly interesting. Is gyro in the VTXL camera? We don't know where it is, but it does fully support gyro flow. Both ear units support gyro flow. It'll be in the camera. So, and both do support gyro flow alongside Rocksteady. It's the same setup as you have today. Turn Rocksteady off, you have gyro flow. Now, with regards to a couple of other things, there's also 4K 4:3 up to 60 frames a second in the Pro ear unit available as well, which is very interesting for people who want that. We don't know anything about audio. I wouldn't expect audio. I know people want to ask for it. I just don't know if you're going to get it. The Pro works 2 to 6S voltage, and the Lite works 1 to 3S voltage. So you've got lots of options there as well. We don't know if the cameras are swappable. We don't know a huge amount about the latency, the system, the quirks. As always with DJI, there's always a gotcha. I do need to answer something. One thing RC Ritter said, he said the FPV the Neo video feed is pretty poor. We should be careful in saying, people keep saying, and I'll admit this as well, I say it's the Neo camera. It's not the Neo camera. It's a 1/1.3 inch sensor camera. People are saying Neo. We shouldn't be doing that. We don't know what the image quality is like. It is not the camera from it. It is, all it is a Neo size sensor camera. It might be a completely different sensor for all we know. Also take into account the Neo has a 1/2, sorry, not 1/1.3. 1/1.3 is the Pro 1/2 inch sensor. We keep saying you keep saying the Neo camera, but it's not right to say that. It's a smaller sensor than the full size one. There's a lot we don't know yet about recording modes and stuff. Someone said they believe you, so you could only record in normal. Look, there's a lot we've got to wait. Wait until it's released when we understand this. Now, with regards to price, nothing is confirmed, but the rumors are basically $200 for the Pro, and the whispers are around $110 to $130 for the Lite, but it isn't confirmed. Okay? It isn't confirmed. As for release date, that is complicated. No one knows for sure when this is coming out. DJI, as I understand it, want this out ASAP, but there are things that have held it back. My understanding is the FCC certification on the Lite ear unit held it back. That has happened apparently, and there are whispers launches set for the end of November, but I'm not heard anything to back that up really. So, right now, launches anytime between the end of November and March next year. I don't think it will be March next year. I think it will be sooner than later, but it isn't confirmed. Someone said sooner before the ban. DJI don't care about that. DJI have a far bigger problem than the ban. DJI's far bigger problem than the ban is they need to try and get O4 out quickly, because I have heard on the grapevine that they have ran out of O3 ear units. As of now, and I'm not saying there isn't stock out there to buy, but I have it on good authority that DJI is unable to supply O3 ear units due to the upcoming release of O4. Now, this makes an interesting situation, because that would imply, and it's almost guaranteed, that this will no longer exist. That would also mean it is extremely likely this is probably the end of the Vista Runcam Link. I don't see any world where DJI will continue to make the Vista Runcam Link and O4 ear units, 2 of them especially. It was in DJI's interest to keep the others around whilst they had this, because they didn't have 2 models. But now I don't see any world where there is room for a Vista, and honestly I don't know if it's permanent, but I have it on very good authority that DJI is unable to supply these now, and that could mean that O3 will vanish very, very quickly. Now, the problem with that is that if you're a V2 user, you no longer have ear units that you can buy to use with your goggles. That also stands for the V1 users as well, but this really does now feel the official hammer in the coffin for V1 and V2s. Things aren't going to dry up instantly. You're going to have some retail time. But honestly, if you really want these, I would start getting a few. There'll be enough stock around. But if you really want this, be careful, because they could cease to exist very, very quickly. This situation is different compared to what we had before. So, hell has frozen over. DJI is making a 1S VTX. Incredible. We weren't expecting it. I couldn't quite believe it when I was told myself, but it is happening. What I do here is DJI has very much set its sights on CADX. And it isn't just the release of 04 that tells us this, because today DJI have also released these, which is the goggles N3, £229 goggle in the UK. And if we look in the US, they didn't quite make the 199. They made 229, but again, an incredibly cheap budget goggle. They support the Neo, they support the Avata 2, they will support the 04 and the 04 Lite as well. Now, I haven't tried them. I'm probably going to get a set in the next couple of days. I did post a couple of days ago about a shift in the marketing on these. I said on Sunday stream, and I'd been saying up until now, that everything I've been being told was you were only going to get a release of the N3 with the Neo. You were not going to get the goggles on their own. I believe... Oh, that's broke. I believe DJI changed their stance on that basically Monday. And they told people Monday that you will be able to order the N3 goggles of a standalone in the next couple of weeks. But there is no stock of N3 goggles standalone anywhere. You can't actually even order them on the DJI website yet. It simply says notify. Their intention is to supply them. I believe supply will start around the end of November. But here and now, if you want to get these goggles, you've got to get them as part of the Neo bundle, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a payoff. Now, there are lots of reviews out there on these. There's some really good ones. Honestly, one thing I do want to say is, please do consider checking out Sean at Geeksvana's video. Sean is a friend of mine. He's a friend of this channel. He isn't someone who tells me anything. He's an absolute git in that regard. He won't tell me a thing as much as I poke him for information. And I can say now, nothing I know comes from him because he's as tight-lipped as his wallet. However, he is a friend of the channel and he's a bloody good guy. So if you want the lowdown, please do check out the links to his channel. But also, there are a number of other videos out there. I haven't watched Ken's. I haven't had a chance. I'll be honest, I've watched one video on these goggles myself. And the only one I think I watched... Whose did I watch? Don't even know if it's coming up. Sorry, Flight Path. I watched Flight Path's video was the one I watched. And they'll tell you everything you need to know. Today... These goggles are only going to support Neo 2, Avata 2, and 04. There is zero information on them ever supporting 03. I don't know if they're ever going to bring support to 03 for them. Will the N3 goggles work with the RC2 controller and Neo? I haven't checked. No. They won't. You can't. No, sorry, I do know that. You cannot use the RC2 with 04 goggles. So the RC2 can only be used with goggles 2 and Integra and V2s. It's a completely different remote system on 04. The remote connects to the goggles, so the remote connects to these, and these communicate with the drone. You will not get goggles 3 and remote 2 in that combination, or N3 and remote 2 in that combination. You just can't do it. You have to be Goggles 2 and Integra Remote 2, Goggles 3, N3 with FPV Remote 3. They have to go in those hands. RC2, oh, you're talking about not the FPV remote, the DJI RC2. You're going to have to check DJI specs on the exact in and outs, what supports what. I think you're going to have to check what their specs say. You know, there's millions of combinations of what DJI do. No release date yet on. So the goggles we believe are going to be the end of the month. N3 and O3 together? No. There is no information that N3 are going to work with O3 or ever will. I would not expect N3 to work with O3. I don't think they'll bother. They will have no interest in doing that. They will just want to sell you an O4 Lightyear unit. That'll be what they're interested in. So that is the launch information as we have it today. So hell is freezing over. A lot of stuff is happening. O4 single board, 1S, unbelievable. O4 Pro, race mode. But we're going to have to wait and see when it actually happens. As I've said, shortages of O3, pretty much the end of V1 and V2 goggles. And these goggles, they look okay, but we're going to have to wait and see. I'm hoping to get a set in my hands in the next couple of weeks to try, maybe even before the weekend. As soon as I have them, we're going to tear them down on the channel because that's what we do here. So if you're interested in seeing that, please do make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Anyway, before we wrap this one up, I just want to say, if there's any questions, anything you want to know that I haven't answered in this, please do put it in the links below. Also, check out Sean's video. If you'd like to support the channel to allow us to keep making content in the future, please do consider checking out links to my Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. It is only through the support of my patrons am I able to keep making content on this channel. And if you'd like to support us to allow us to keep making content in the future, please do consider checking it out. I want to say a huge thank you, and I genuinely mean this, a massive thank you to all of my Patreons. We would not be able to do this without your support. Anyone who's given a penny, a pound, £10, £100, everything helps. So please do consider checking out. But a big thank you to me from those who have. Now, that's it from the live recording perspective. Look after yourself, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon. I'm going to stop recording. I'm not going yet. Right, that's the live recording. I've got to edit that in a minute. Well, I won't. I'll just cut the start off. You get to see how I do this. You've got to pump the energy for that. Didn't make too many mistakes there, actually. There's a few bits I'd have edited out of that, but yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. You get used to doing it. You sort of get into the swing of doing these things. I quite like doing the live recordings because the big difference for me is the live recording forces me to just push forward. The problem I have when I'm doing recorded content, I'd make a mistake and just stop. Make a mistake and stop. Whereas the live recording actually just makes you go, carry on, move on. Just keep going. Don't worry about it and move forward. Now, when I end this stream, it'll go offline, but I'm gonna edit that one in a minute from the recording and upload it. Can I send you a package? Fly High, send me an email. Obviously, my address is not publicized, but yeah, send me an email, Fly High. Or contact me on Discord. Find me on Discord. Get hold of me somewhere. And thing. But yeah, so look, incredibly interesting times. Incredibly interesting. Genuinely, some of this stuff I've known for quite some time. But some of this I couldn't share. And it wasn't time. What I have been doing, and here's the truth, is I've been poking DJI for a couple of weeks. For those who saw this, that was me poking them because that is the size of the ear unit. That is it. That is what it looks like. That is why I made this. This was my poke to DJI. I did it on purpose, just to poke them because I love poking the bear. You know, look, the truth is I will not be involved with the launch. You know, DJI, I am complete ban. It will not happen. And after what happened on the O3 launch. That, I think, was the permanent ban because of my refusal to take down the heatsink video, for those who remember. So there's a bit of a story to that, for those who don't know. So I heard whispers that there were big problems with O3 overheating. So I recorded and made that joking heatsink video. O3 heatsink. It's got, I don't even know what to search for it. It was one of my jokey videos. And I was then asked to be involved with the launch, and they sent me the drone. But in between that happening, I published the heatsink video. I gotta find this because this is a great video for those who haven't seen. But because I published the video before I had received the package, so there was no way I could have used... I had a 3D print of the O3 air unit, and they thought I had the real one, but it wasn't possible for me to have had the real one because it hadn't arrived yet, and I could prove that through their shipping. So anyway, it arrived, and I was asked to take the video down, and I refused. And I refused on the basis of, I made that video before I made the agreement. I published it in between, but no information in that video was based on what they told me or what they'd sent me. So my attitude was, sorry, but I'm not willing to take it down. But I then said, and this went on for 2 or 3 days, but I will, if you want, no longer take part in the release. Because at that point, I was in a no-lose situation because I already had it in hand, so I could make content anyway before sending it back. But what would have been even better than making a launch video with the product was me sitting here going, hi guys, now I'm recording this about 2 weeks before launch, and this is the new O3 air unit. However, this is as much as I'm going to be able to show you it today because I've had to send this back because I was asked to take down my video on the heatsink, and I said no. And rather than bow to pressure from the manufacturer, instead I told them to go stick it. As a result of that, instead of me being able to sit here and tell you all of the amazing stuff, what I'm going to do is tell you everything they don't want you to know. And that would have been what the video would have been like. So I was in a no-lose position at that point because it would have just been, well, I'll get the views, whatever happens. The truth is, well, I'll be honest. Let's be honest. Me doing a video of telling you what happened probably would have got more views than the actual review. Let me see if I can find this video for those who don't see it, because this is a good... I love my O3 video. O3... Was it O3 overheat? No, it's not O3 overheat. What did I call that video? My problem is I don't know what I called it. It's got to be one of my very first O3 videos. It's funny though. I am an asshole. Let's be honest. I am absolutely an asshole. I really, really am an asshole. But it's funny. It's too funny. I can't find it. It's got to be... What would the reason be that the Goggles 2 won't be able to do 60 megabits racing mode? Because it's a different chipset. So, we have some theories why DJI have been able to introduce a racing mode. And there are some technical reasons why DJI may have been able to do it. And that is all to do with the O4 chipset. The Goggles 2 and Integra have the O3 chipset, or the P1. If you want to know what it is really, it's P1. Okay, so we think this new mode leverages something new they've got in 04. And as a result of it, it's not available on the old goggles because they don't have that in that chipset. So that'll be the reason. What I'm a little concerned about is what the latency's like in non-race mode. That's what I'm a little intrigued at. Race mode is also incredibly interesting, and I didn't talk about that enough, because obviously Cadex made a race mode, but Cadex's race mode was basically race channels and not really any improvement in latency performance. It's a little bit more stable in my tests. It definitely doesn't vary quite as much, but basically race mode on Avatar was race channels. DJI are being very clear of a low latency race mode, so there's a bit more to it. We don't know if it's race channels either. I bet you that'll be a gotcha with DJI. I will be shocked if they conform to race mode channels. I bet you they don't. I bet you they don't in race mode. But that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very, very interesting indeed. You can still do the channels though. You don't, you know, the bandwidth is a problem, but you can still do the channels. I do wonder, will it be a reduced bandwidth? It could be, you know, we don't know. We don't even know race mode is up to 60 megabits a second. Race mode could be less. We know it supports up to 60 megabits a second, but it might not be in race mode. DJI O3 E unit, how hot will it get? Someone said. How hot? Is it that? No, it can't be that. It can't be that one. No, how hot will it get? That can't be it, because that's got a thermal image. No, that's not it. That's got a thermal image. Hotter than my wife. Do we have any news on 04 hard limit? DJI, no info on the hard limit. They're saying 10 kilometers on the Lite and 15 kilometers on the Pro, but that's DJI standard spec. Don't take that as, better digital FPV is coming soon. That rings a bell. That's probably why I couldn't find it. Haha, yes. It had a great thumbnail as well, that video. That's right. Right, let me cue that. I loved it. Now and again, I don't do enough of these type of videos. Let's take that audio down a bit. We'll get past the adverts on my own channel. Okay, just finishing our OcuSync 3 first build. We've got our thermal paste on the ear unit. We're going to place that onto the frame, and then we're going to mount the heatsink. That's going to make sure that the ear unit works properly, and we're not going to have any problems in flight. Okay, so as you can see, the build is now finished. Now, obviously, the big difference on this compared to quads before 03 is the new heatsink. I chose to go with the AMD Wraith cooler because it has that cool RGB functionality as well. Now, the idea of this is to remove the excess heat away from that ear unit. Obviously, whilst it's smaller than we've had before, it does use 40% additional power, and as a result of that, it's going to create more heat, and we need to move that heat away from the aircraft. Not only do we need that thermal paste on the bottom, but you need the heatsink as well to help keep it chilled in flight. Now, obviously, having this large cooler on the top is going to have a potential effect on the aircraft, but don't worry, the cooler itself is made from copper and aluminium, so it won't. Weight is coming in at only about 1.2 kilos, and whilst that may have an effect on the flight characteristics, it's the reality of having high-end digital FPV with built-in image stabilization. This is how quads are going to be as we move forward into 2023. First build, we've got now, this is audio's bad, but now audio bad was good bad. Okay, I swapped it. Look, it was the videos. This is the bit that really rattled them, because what this is a 3D print. You see. So that was that flipped them out. They thought this was the ear unit. They thought this was they absolutely went mental about this. You also notice the amount of thermal paste. Here's the truth. I did an edit that didn't record properly. The first edit I did of this, and it didn't record, I squeezed on a chunk of thermal paste in like the X pattern like you do on a heatsink when you're building a PC, but I did like the Lewis Rossmann flux style of thermal paste, or GN, if you've seen GN where he takes the mickey. But I didn't record it. I didn't hit record. And the problem is I didn't have enough then to do it again. So I'd lost it. And that's why you can see there's thermal paste everywhere. Because I'd actually done it once, and it starts with like a shot on the back of the quad, and me just squeezing all of this thermal paste in and then pressing in the ear unit. And I hadn't hit record on the camera, so I lost it. I didn't have it all. So I then ended up starting with it there. But look, you can see it's absolutely fucking everywhere because it was already starting to go everywhere. We believe around that pricing. That's what we believe. So, but yeah, I wish I didn't get it quite right. I'm gonna have to, but we're gonna have to wait and see, you know. But yeah, it was that was a goodie. I haven't done a good wind up for a while. I like doing things like that against DJI. It's quite funny. That's why I did this. See, that's why I printed this. I only do this stuff to poke them. That's the actual size of the Pro, I may add, but it is smaller than this. The problem with this is, see, the Pro goes down here. So the Pro actually stops about here. And then it goes in. And you can see that on that other image I showed you. If I go back to the desktop and those images, you can see it goes in there. You can't see it very well. But the SD card slot sticks out, but the heatsink goes in at the sides there. So, look, it does get smaller. Yeah, I think there is nothing not to like here, guys. The genuine truth is we're in for a bit of a golden age, maybe of 03 and 04. It is really going to give Cadex a problem. It won't affect HD0. Look, DJI 15 milliseconds is not going to change HD. HD0 has 14 milliseconds on Nano 90, okay? But HD0 has more than that. They have fixed latency. There's no word that DJI have got fixed latency. If DJI came out with 15 milliseconds fixed latency, Jesus Christ, things could get very interesting. HD0 will be fine. It will hit Cadex because they're coming after them now. Will the 04 Lite image half-inch sensor look much worse than the camera? No, you'd be surprised. You got to remember, we've got loads of drones with 1/2 inch 1/1/2 inch sensor. We've got loads of drones with sensors like that. It's not a problem. It's not the sensor that's important, it's the lens. How wide, you know, if you look at how wide the lens is on the Pro, something really interesting is that spec on the lens on the Pro. See, look at this, f2.0. That is wider than anything we have. The Avata 2 isn't that wide. The Avata 2 is not that wide. That's going to let in a crap ton of light. A lot of light. To be honest, the 04 Lite will probably have better dynamic range. Yeah, look, I think it's going to look absolutely fine. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, but I think it'll be okay. Part of the reason the lens isn't great on this, you've got to take into account, this has got a plastic lens. Something people don't realise on this camera is this has a plastic lens. That's why the image quality on this isn't great. DJI might choose to do a different lens. Before we wrap this stream up, I will add one other thing. We found out something really weird today. Cadex, it looks like, have agreed to support OpenIPC, which is great for the project. Very interesting indeed. But Cadex seem to be one of the brands who are also getting on board with OpenIPC. I don't know what effect that will have on Avatar. I don't think it will. My suspicion is Cadex are probably hedging their bets a little bit, and they probably don't like the fact that Runcam are involved, Emacs are involved. Because remember, Cadex are still very big in the analog scene. So I can absolutely see Cadex almost trying to want to do a tier 2 product. Maybe have a lower level product to replace analog. Maybe have Avatar at the top end. Perhaps Avatar version 2 won't come. Perhaps this is why we haven't seen version 2. I'll be honest, this is going to be a bit of a dent for them if DJI have done this. But it's not over. You don't get HDMI in on DJI. I don't really ever see them doing HDMI in or out. You got to take into account the Goggles X have a lot of nice functionality. You've got analog, HDMI in and out options. I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial here. I'll be honest. I'm at the stage now with all of these goggles, digital goggles and analog, a module base, just not with the fucking hassle. Go and buy yourself a cheap set of analog goggles if you want analog. I'll be honest. It's not, even the HT Zeros, it's not worth. The truth is, I just think you may as well get a cheap set of analog goggles. DJI have definitely taken notice. And hello, Stu. And Stu said something. And I replied to you, Stu. You haven't replied to my emails. So, DJI would not be doing this without Cadex. That's for sure. Everything I've heard is DJI has set its sights very much on Cadex. So you will argue competition has worked. Without a doubt, competition has worked. So we should be thankful for that. What Cadex now have to be really, really careful of is all of their nonsense of half-baked and not finishing stuff, the app not working properly, the goggles issues. They got away with that whilst there really wasn't an alternative people wanted. HD Zero is a separate product, right? That's it. End of. It's fixed latency, it low modes, it has its own world, racing, it has people using it in freestyle. But look, people, the truth is, in general, freestyle FPV, people are happy with two-way links. The benefit of a two-way link system is that you get improved range, improved penetration at the cost of latency, but people are happy to give up that latency. Okay? So I've always argued this. Latency is not the main factor people care about. If it was, HD Zero would be number one. So the main factor people care about is image quality, penetration, usability. Then comes latency. Something just to note on that. People putting their nose up at these goggles being only 60 frames a second. The amount of people who are flying these goggles and the other goggles on 4K 30 and 4K 60, they don't know what latency they're on. They're already on 50, 60 milliseconds and they don't care. So latency is not the be all and end all. So people chose Cadex because DJI didn't give them what they wanted. People put up with Cadex's nonsense at times because the truth was, what were you going to do if you wanted 1S? What were you going to do if you wanted iFlight OSD, iNav OSD? Now, DJI isn't filling every hole here. You're not going to have all your lovely fonts OSD. You're not going to have ArduPilot, but they're giving us a lot, and they're probably giving us enough that many people will say, I don't really need HDMI output. I don't really need analog input option. I'll buy another set of goggles. And this is the real problem they have. This is the real problem Cadex have. It was always going to be Cadex offered a great amount of options, but the second someone came along and like DJI back to it and really made an effort, it is always going to give Cadex a problem. So they're going to have to pull their finger out. Because the truth is, as soon as this is out, I have openly said on this channel that Walk Snail has been generally the best overall choice because it gives you the most options and the widest compatibility. That is about to change. Whilst they will still give you the most options, the payoff, let's see. But OpenIPC is incredibly interesting from Cadex. I hope they do some good stuff. I genuinely do. I hope they do some good stuff. There's no downsides here. There just isn't. Someone asked about the RF power outputs. So the 04 Lite is 30 dBm and the 04 Pro is 33 dBm. It is a little less. But the 04 Lite is single antenna. DJI actually might be, the 04 Pro might only be 33 because they're using multi and multi-out gain to calculate the maximum RF power because there's MIMO gain as a result of having two outputs. So it might not be that it's physically any less power, it's just you only have one antenna transmitting. I blame you. So, latency only matters where you need it. My bashers on the V1 kit, lower latency, better handling in the shadows. I've got some kits with 03. I don't punish and enjoy the view and keep doing. Yeah, and that's it. See, latency is... there are lots of people who don't care about latency. So these new goggles may suit some people. There's a lot we've got to understand with these new goggles as well. We don't know about the share modes yet. We don't know what's going to walk. We don't know what's going to work on that. We don't know if you can share between N3 and Goggles 3. We don't know. We know the phone output works. There's a lot of stuff we don't know yet that we've got to understand. Now, something I missed in that video was all of the updates for the drones. DJI have put out a whole host of updates as well for their drones this week. I forgot to put that in the video. What a dick. So just so people here know, DJI have... Ooh, shall I just record it and cut it in? I'm going to do it. Now, one last thing I just want to quickly talk about is alongside the release of the new goggles, DJI have pushed out some firmware updates not only for the Neo, but also the Goggles 3 and the Avata 2 as well. And they've also brought some new features to the Avata 2 at the same time. Now, the new firmware release for the Goggles N3 is out, and it basically adds support for the Avata 2, because they always release firmware for the goggles on the release day. Alongside this, there was new Neo firmware, as I've said, pushed out, which adds support for the Goggles N3, adds live view stabilization. I need to try that. That looks quite interesting. Adds support for vertical shooting, so now you can fly vertically? No, don't know if you're going to be able to do that. In mobile app control, added support for manual control in full screen and control stick mode, switching control stick settings. Hold on a minute. In mobile app control, added support for manual control. Is that manual? Is that acro mode? I'm going to have to try. Support to set the noise reduction audio, ladder. So that's the firmware for them. DJI also, I'm going to have to go over to the FPV series for this to find it for the Avata. They also pushed out a firmware update for the Avata 2 as well, but I can't find the release notes for it. Why can I not find the release notes? DJI, you are freaking useless. Right. The new firmware for the Avata 2 from Facebook tells us they've now added power loop in easy acro mode to the Avata 2. This was the smart modes that DJI added onto the Neo, and they've now brought them over to the Avata 2 as well. They've added support for the Goggles N3, and they've added land and protection options as well when used with the Goggles N3. DJI Goggles 3 alongside. They've also added new landing mode, which is supported on the Goggles 3 and the Goggles N3 when used with the RC Motion 3. And as always with DJI, they fixed some known issues. There you go, that's a bolt-on. Sorry, I've got to go into my ranty mode when I do that. So, there you go. Right. Put me in the screenshot. It's like watching magic happen. It's not easy, Stu. You know how hard this is. You fucking know how hard this is. It's not. It's like watching a train crash. Is what it's like watching. How to not be a YouTuber is what it's like watching. Jesus. Right. If you have any questions, I will answer them now before we wrap this stream up, because this isn't a Sunday. It's not Sunday. We're not streaming in the week all of the time. Good. 383 of you, though. Hello, people. How are you? So, yeah. So, lots going on. Lots going on. Cadex. Yeah. Interesting times. Interesting. It's a great time for FPV. Mind, DJI's probably about to get banned back to the Stone Age now President Trump is here. Will be really interesting to see what he does. I am incredibly interested. I believe so, CMAC, yes. But look, some of the specs are a bit loose on what it does include, but I believe it does. I believe so. I could be wrong, but I believe so. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Trump does. You know, like, I knew he'd win. Let's see if he really does it. Is he really going to... I don't see it happening. Genuinely, I think there'll be a lot of huff guff. Do you know what I think will happen? You'll get a bit of noise. You'll get a lot of rhetoric, right? A lot of rhetoric. We're going to ban China. China. We're going to ban China. And then in a week, you'll have a press conference where I sat down with Zing. I told him what has to be. Zing listened. Zing, I told him. Zing, no, China. China be bad. No spying China. Can't do that, China. We had a man-to-man conversation. Now everyone's come together. Zing listened. They've thinked. We've sorted it out. It's sorted. China's USA first. China. Everything's fine. I fixed it all. China. It'll be something like that. And he'll just say, you know, we spoke like men. I told him no spying China, and something like that. You know, it will be like that, and then he will create a situation that will make him look like he's done something without actually doing something, and nothing will change. We told them we're not having the Chinese cars. No China, no cars. You can keep your cars, not Chinese spy cars. We did a deal. China's going to give us the cars for cheaper, but no spy. So, but let's see. Interesting times. No war with China. Yeah, DJI could be in trouble in a number of ways, and look, you've just had the Armflow has just launched globally, and look, that could be hit. You know, DJI is, you know, Armflow, for those who don't know, the electric bike is being made by DJI. It's all DJI. That could be hit by this. They are promoting that like hell. Honestly, I have never seen them promote something so much as this e-bike. They are really pushing this e-bike. I'm not convinced. Look, the truth is, any tariffs he does will hurt the population. And you already have, as we have, a cost of living problem. So, I think it'll be fine. I am the best. I told him. I fixed it. Golden news. No China, no spy. Yeah, let's see what happens. Or he'll go all hell and they'll be gone in 3 months. It in some ways, at least something might happen now. Truth is, we need something to happen. It either needs to go away or banned. It's really simple. The truth of the matter is, for DJI, They either need to go away and be banned. Frankly, being honest, a little bit of a ban wouldn't hurt them, if I'm honest. I would actually like to see them banned. Hence the reason I will not be included. Reason number 456, whilst Ian at Mads Tech won't be included in any future DJI launches. I think they should get banned for a little bit. I think it would do them some good. They need to go on the naughty step. I think when you put them on the naughty step, they may actually start to listen. I'm not saying heavily, but I think a small ban wouldn't do too much harm. We're our HD0 made in China. Yeah, he did. He did raise them last time. He did do something last time. Yeah. Did that ever come down fly high? Or did it stay at 25%? A small ban like Huawei. Define ban. The art of the deal. It's still at 25. Yeah, right, okay. I think if he bans them this time, he'll just go China. I think he'll just go China. He'll just go DJI security risk. We're banning China spy drones flying around, spy drones bringing in immigrants, spy drones killing the dogs, killing the cats, spy drones. We've banned the spy drones. We said, China, no more spy drones, killing the dogs, killing the cats. I saved the mammals. I saved the animals. There you go. Yeah. So it will be something like that. Yeah. Someone needs to get you there. Yeah, look, let's see what happens. I think DJI is a monopolistic company who have proven when given the opportunity, they will behave in an extremely anti-competitive and an anti-consumer manner, and they should not be trusted to hold complete control of an industry. Now, I am not saying DJI should be fully banned, but they do operate in a way that does mean you as consumers are left in very difficult positions when they have firmware issues that cause their drones to fall from the sky, when they don't supply parts for their products, when you can't even get a replacement part that is easy to lose on a product. And what I mean by that as an example is if you have the Ronin drone, the Ronin gimbals, the camera plate was not available as an accessory. The antennas for the DJI transmission, for some of the other stuff wasn't available as an accessory. DJI are not a company that ever behave in a way that's good for consumers. And I've started sort of, I want to get into e-bikes a bit, and not for the channel, for me, because I'm fat and need to lose some weight, but there's a huge amount of excitement in the e-bike industry at the moment. I'm going to record this because I want to do this, right? I'm going to record this. So, I've spent a bit of time in the last couple of weeks on e-bike groups because I want to get into e-biking. I'm fat. I need to lose some weight. I spent a bit of time out on my boy mountain biking, and I really enjoyed it. Some of the best time I've personally had for years. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I haven't smiled so much. Almost killed me, but I've made a decision. I want to get a bit more into mountain biking. Not heavily, I'm not going to be doing, but I want to get onto the tracks and the trails. But I want to get an e-mountain bike. I've set my heart on one, so that's the plan. So I've obviously been dragged into looking at DJI with the Avanox system and looking at Amflow and looking at the other brands, Bosch, Shimano. And what was quite interesting when I first looked at this was just how anti-competitive it is right now. It does seem like the move into e-bikes has allowed manufacturers like Bosch, like Shimano to really stifle what users can do. So for instance, things I've been reading, firmware updates on the Shimano. For main updates, you have to bring them to your dealer. If you want diagnostics done, you have to bring it to your dealer and pay. Bosch, again, closed. You have to bring it to your dealer. I have read, and I don't know how true this was, one user had a bike where the motor was gone out of warranty, and this was on a video, and they had to bring the bike to the dealer, the official Bosch dealer, for them to apply for the owner to be able to buy a new motor. It wasn't as simple as even be able to buy the motor. Now, you can't even buy spares for these off Bosch, Shimano, but there are companies who've set themselves up in the UK. There's an e-bike motors repair company that looks fantastic. Motor repair, let me just find it. E-bike motor centre in the UK. This company just looks phenomenal. There's a video about them on YouTube. Please check it out if you're interested in this stuff. Honestly, they look incredible. He goes into lots of stuff about the problems with the e-bike motors. Some really good videos on it. But anyway, what was really interesting was my sort of entering into the groups. And what I saw, first of all, was an incredible amount of excitement around DJI coming into e-bikes. They were hoping, like, a new player that's going to bring it to Bosch, Shimano, Yamaha. That's going to make them change their ways, because these companies aren't behaving pretty well at the moment. They're behaving quite badly. And it was quite, for me, I came on and they thought I was a bit of a troll or something. And I came on going, well, wait a minute, guys. Look, DJI is not your perfect saviour here. Be careful of kicking one devil out the door to replace it with Beelzebub, because the reality is DJI have a long history of behaving extremely badly towards their customers. And I mean, not only do they not offer parts and spares for their drones, you can send it to them to repair. They don't allow their dealers to sell you parts and spares, but they have a long history of disregarding safety when it comes to their products. And that long history includes the O3 air unit losing signal, and that's a mild one. The M200 series, where the drones would fall out the sky as a result of bad firmware. And in fact, that issue was so bad, the UK CAA and Australian governments grounded these aircrafts in their airspace. The British government grounded the use of these aircraft, basically, as a result of them falling out of the sky. DJI have had firmware issues on the TB series of batteries that basically would brick when you left them in storage mode, because the battery accumulator would count up automatically over time over 100% and then brick the firmware. If you left your DJI batteries in the DJI carry case for the TB50s that they designed to charge them with, it would brick the batteries. The Inspire 1 had power issues. The Spark had power issues. DJI have a long history of battery problems with their drones. Early batteries failing, early batteries swelling. One thing I will say, though, is their safety history is incredibly good. Their batteries basically don't go on fire. But my point was in this was DJI is a complex company and also is one of the most high profile from a political perspective right now that exists on the planet. And there's a very real possibility they're going to be banned. And a couple of people got upset with me on the posts because they were just like, this is a troll, or you talk, you know, your big post with all those comments. But my point was this. To you guys, you might look at DJI and go, oh, look, this is the company that makes these action cameras and these cool drones I see on the TV. They're really good. They are really good. But also understand this company will crap all over you at the first chance if they get it. They behave anti-competitively, and when allowed, will completely dominate your industry. Now, what is going to be interesting with Avinox is, in theory, DJI intends to sell this as a kit, right? So this is meant to be a kit that is going to be purchasable by other e-bike manufacturers and brands. The Avanox kit is there. They're showing it. They show some technical detail. Very cool. A bit more powerful than everything else. Really quite interesting. Obviously, they are selling this in the first bike from a company called Amflow. For those who don't know. However, Amflow is owned by DJI. They are trying to keep this under the radar, as I understand it, but everything I know, I believe Amflow is a fully owned subsidiary of DJI. So right now, DJI isn't selling this kit to anyone. There is only one bike you can buy with this kit, and that is the Amflows. Whether they're going to bring it to other brands or not, I don't know. But what will be interesting is to see how DJI behaves with other brands, because they're not good at doing OE. They've never had a successful OE business up until now. They've never worked well with partners. They just haven't. The bike is definitely interesting, though. The bike is definitely interesting. I'll be honest, if it was cheaper, I would have bought one. I would buy one. It's too expensive in the UK. It's nearly $6,000. But also understand when you buy this bike, you have to activate it, and they have cleverly integrated lots of health collecting information, so you can have your health reports from your smartphone added into the DJI app to combine with the DJI info from this. And now DJI is not only collecting aerial data, they're now collecting your health data as well. You imagine the amount of data DJI is now collecting as a business. Not only are they collecting your aerial and flight data, they're now after your health data as well. So again, this isn't being conspiracy theorist, but just be careful of the devil you let in, because these aren't... People would look at DJI a bit like the Chinese Apple, and they are. But there are some very serious and worrying concerns around not only their attitude towards safety and providing great consumer service, but also around data security, privacy, and national security as well. It's definitely an interesting product. And as someone said, no bike manufacturer would build a frame kit, which is why they created Amflow. Yeah, but I'm interested to see how far it comes out. And as someone has just said, they've now got the robot vacuum as well. So now they've got your outside data, your inside data, a map of your house, and your health data as well. Don't be under any illusion how much data they're collecting here. It's scary when you put all of this together. And I'm not some big tin foil hat, but crazy fool. But just bear in mind what happens if you take all of that data and put it together into a large language model and see what you can get out. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. Are they collecting my flight data though? O3A units. Not unless you send it back. That's about the only ones they're not. But look, it's an incredibly interesting bag. I am personally looking at a Cube. At the moment, I'm settled on... I've got a model I've settled on, but I want to go and try it. I want full suspension. Stereo 144 is what I'm leaning on. This is the model that I'm leaning on so far. It's at the right price and the right spec. I'm not getting the highest end components, but I'm choosing battery over components. So a top end e-bike is like 10 grand, right? Let's just get that out the way. Right, 7 to 10 grand. So when you go down the stack, you then start, are you giving up battery size or are you giving up components? And this has a nice mix. That's not... This has the... Is that the electric, or have I not clicked on the electric? Oh, no, that's not the electric. Sorry. E-bags. That's not the electric, sorry. Stereo hybrid 144. There you go. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong... So let me just find the one. It should be that one there. There we go. So, I'm going for the 800 watt new... You're not allowed to call it Gen 5 because it's not technically Gen 5. But this is the new Bosch motor, 800 watt. I'm going for the 800, not the smaller. I want the battery size over the components because at least I've got the power then and I can upgrade the components over time. They're not terrible. When you look at the components on it, it's not shocking. So it comes with... I wish it was... I don't want a carbon fibre frame. I actually want a fully aluminium frame bike, first of all. But this, unfortunately, is carbon fibre main frame with aluminium A-frame. I would prefer full aluminium. I'll be honest. That would be my personal preference. So it comes with the Fox 36 float AWLs front dampeners, which have 150mm of clearance, and then the float rhythm arm at the back. Bosch drive unit. With regards to the brake system, the Magura MT30, I believe they're okay. Not the best, not the worst. Shimano XT derailleur, which is nice to see. You got the basic upfront set, which is the Dior and the Dior cassette. But again, I'm going to wear through a cassette, so the cassette's going to go anyway, right? You know, give it one season, I'll be through a cassette, so I'll then put on the XT cassette when I replace it anyway. Chain is the KMC, but again, I'll change the chain when I change the cassette. Job done. So, is there a reason for wishing for aluminium versus carbon? From my personal perspective, longevity. So, I actually own a hybrid carbon bike by Specialized. I don't use it. I don't really like being on the road, is the truth. Why I won't want carbon is just the fragility of it. At least aluminium, you can drop a little bit and not worry you're going to have a problem. The risk with carbon is there's no dent in carbon fibre. When it's gone, it's gone. So you smack the frame, it's screwed. Hard enough, it's gone. And that's my reason for I would prefer aluminium. I would just... Look, let's be honest. If you hit an aluminium frame and you put a dent in it, yeah, you're going to be a bit upset, but structurally, it's not an issue generally. You're not always going to have a problem with that. Carbon, yeah. You know, one off and one bad hit on a tree and you're in a bad position. And the thing with these bikes is there's a lot of hollow on these bikes. See, all of this is carved out for the battery. So that's hollow there. So you could damage there quite easily. But this is what I'm leaning on so far. This is the model I'm leaning on. There are some actually really good deals, though, to be had on 2024 models right now. There are some good deals on last year's model, but that means going for the smaller battery and the smaller motor. Not the smaller motor, the Gen 4 motor, which, I'll be honest, has some known issues. Bosch have had some real issues with water ingress on their motors. Don't buy that bike wasting your cash. What's wasting the cash? Other than it's got the component, I've looked at it compared to about 20 of the models on the market, and component-wise, it beats everyone else. The frame stance is fine. There's the only thing I could do is go for a 2024 model. There's a bit of money to be saved on the same bike in a 2024 model. There is, but I'd be going for last year's motor and be limited to 750 watt battery, the old generation battery, because this year Bosch have introduced a new motor and new battery. Yeah, but the new motor's a lot better. And see, Chiller, you've hit my nail on the head. I think it's worth spending the money on the new motor and the new battery, and that's what I'm. that's why I'm looking at a 2025 model with the Gen 5, which that has. And you can see cracks in aluminium. Yeah, no. Here's the problem. A lot of the frames are carbon. A lot of the frames are carbon. I've had a close look at Giant. I don't fancy the... I have set my heart on the Bosch motor system, is what I've decided. So any bikes I'm looking at has to be the Bosch. I have set my mind on the Bosch. The Giants get good reviews, really good reviews. They're using the Yamaha with Giant software, and apparently it's good. But you don't get... They don't have the same power. The Bosch has the power. Adrian, you bought the 2023 Coupe Stereo Hybrid HD, the 160 HPC. Nice. Yes, you got the 750. Use the power of your legs. I'm too fat to use the power of my legs instead. Turbo Levo from Don Skilling in Cardiff. I have looked at Yamaha. Yamaha are pulling out the American market, apparently. So I've looked at Cube. I've looked at Giant. I've looked at Specialized. I don't want a Shimano motor. That I've made an absolute decision on. I am not going near that mess. It appears to be all hell. I ain't going anywhere where I have to update the firmware via the dealer. They can get fucked on that one, right? So Shimano can go screw themselves. They really seem to have tightened things up. Bosch overall, whilst have not been perfect and they have had bearing problems, what's really interesting is the water ingress issues. I'll say this, right? The number... Yeah, I have looked at Canon as well. We'll have a look at Canon in a minute. The number one issue with e-bikes, do not wash an e-bike with a freaking hose or a pressure washer. Take a brush and brush it down. Do not go near that motor. Do not go near it with pressure washer. Honestly. Everything I've read and I've seen from it and looking at it, it's water ingress that's killing these motors. It's all water. And there's talk of it even happening as little as 200 miles if you pressure wash these bikes. They are looking a lot better now. But the amount of failures on the Gen 4s. But the e-bike motor repair, honestly, these guys, there's a video from these guys. It is so worth a watch, honestly. But these guys sell all the parts as well. And they actually sell a Gen 4 upgrade kit. And the reason they sell it is partly because the seals fail. And they show you that they've introduced a new bearing and seal setup. I have one from Muck Off and it's mega. Yeah, it's just not worth putting water near these things. But yeah, these guys have a new seal. They put in a bronze phosphor bearing, which is cool, and a new seal kit. But these guys do a full service on the motors as well. They do some really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. They even sell the bearings from the bearings. Look, you can even buy the bearing kit yourself. But yeah, just if you get any, do not go near the freaking hose pipe or pressure washer. Don't use a pressure washer. Yeah, honestly, just... I would even, if I was hosing or pressure washing the bike down, I'd wrap a bag around the motor area first. You just want to keep that water off it. You just don't want that water going near that motor. And I would just... bronze self-lube, exactly. Bronze phosphor. That's why it's yeah. It just seems to find its way in. And looking at the Bosch seal, what's quite interesting, they showed you on that image the seal on the Bosch. And it's like a folded seal. When you look at the image, you can see it here, right? I'll put that image in a new tab. And if I zoom in, so the seal is here. You can see Bosch have this double-lipped seal. A lip there and a lip there. But that isn't, from the look of it, a rotary seal. It looks more like a horizontal seal. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So, look, I've set my mind on the Bosch, is what I want. And so I'm looking at bikes with a Bosch motor. But I've set my heart on the Gen 5, not the Gen 4. So, Shimano's out. So, that's Specialized out. You've been through 4 Boths Gen 4s. Wow. Yeah, look, I'm not heavy intending, but yeah, I can imagine there being problems. Did you, Nick, did you get any problems getting them replaced? Did you have to buy any of them? Did you have to do anything? You know, how was it to get them replaced? Funny enough, you almost want those motors pressurized. If I was designing one of these e-bike motors, Cole's made a really interesting... Bafang get good reviews. Cole's made something interesting. I would almost want to try and create a positive pressure crankcase situation so it forces the moisture out. And you can quite easily do that in a motor because you got stuff spinning. So all you actually have to do is have something that whips up a bit of air and move it around. And I would aim to have like a very clear air input area and try and build a positive pressure case. And that would help force the moisture out. Or just put loads of seals on it and cover it in grease. That's what I do. Electric dirt bikes do this. Yeah, positive pressure crankcase and then just try and force the moisture out in it. So, but look, I am going to buy one. I have some stuff I have to sort out first of all. I have some life stuff I have to sort out first of all, but I have set my heart on a, and look, I'm looking at the Cube. I'm like, I've settled on the Cube, but if I had any sense, I'd go for a 2024 Gen 4 because there's some good deals to be had. There's some really good deals because here's the crazy thing, right? I can spend the same money but get like a $7,000 bike on a deal. This is the problem this time of year. You're at end of season, so there's loads of good deals. So that all the 2024 and some 2023 models are still hanging around. So they're all discounting. So you got bikes that were like $7,000 before now being discounted to $4,000. Or you're paying $4,000 for a $4,000 2025 lower model. So the question is, should you get the 2024 $7,000 model but not have the new motor, or should you get the 2025 model with the new motor, the 800-watt battery, and so forth and so forth? So it gets complicated, especially when there's hardware changes, like there is this year. I would honestly, genuinely, look, as much as I make noise about DJI and I call them a bunch of twats and you can't trust them, I would, if this bike was $4,000, I would order it. Honestly, I would order it. If that bike was $4,000, because that's my budget I've set, I'd order it. But it's closer to $6,000. And my God, does it look good in silver. But you can't have that one in silver. So if you want the PL Carbon in, I'm probably medium, not large. Is it the PL? Can you have the PL Carbon? PL Carbon. Oh, you can. Can you? Oh, there. Can you wait there? I thought you could only have. Oh yeah, no. Which is the? Oh no, is it the Carbon? The PL Carbon is 800 watts. Rough Cycles, our buddy, also runs Bosch. Silver is the Ali cheap one. Oh, I like that then. The Ali cheap one silver. I like the silver. It looks better than the black. Yeah, it's crazy. This is the problem. You're paying for the... yeah, look, $599. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. I can't do it. Can he do it? Can he do it? It's too much. I cannot stretch that far. It's too much. And the truth is, I think I think it's too much. Look, round with me. Ian, buy a previous model and save dollars. Next bike you buy from DJI when they take over the market. Yeah, and I have warned, wait for the next models to come. We all know how they work. They all need DJI will how long before there's the Armflow Mini? Then there'll be the Armflow Mini Pro. Then there'll be the Armflow 4K Ultra Edition. I want to make the FCC hack video for this bike. I'd love to have one here so I could make the FCC hack video. If anyone lives near me and bought one of these, can you phone me, please? Message me. I want to make an FCC video on this bike, just as another piss take against DJI, because I just love doing it. I would if it was. I think that it is overly expensive. I think it is a little bit. Like, it does come not bad. Like, when you actually look at the spec. So if we go check specifications, so on the 800 you're getting. So what are we getting? So Fox float performance on the rear. Fox 36 performance. What's the price of the Fox 36 performance versus the... You're getting SRAM. I don't know how much better the gear is on it. I tell you what will be interesting, and this is where... Right, I'm going to have a quick technical discussion on this now for those who are not interested. I've been doing some math, and I put a spreadsheet together, actually, because I've been looking a lot at this, and I put a spreadsheet together. This gives you an idea of how thing I am. Wait there, let me just bring up Google a minute. Let me just go on to my Google for a second, and I'll show you what I did, because I'm that sad, right? I've put together a sheet looking at the different powertrains. So, because look, I have to, believe it or not, I am a data analytics guy in a lot of what I do, and I'm always looking at the data. I want to understand the data, what it's telling me, and then what it comes out. So I sort of set up this spreadsheet for my own use, so I can sort of look at the DJI system versus the Bosch Gen 5 and the Gen 4 and the battery weights and where we're at right now. And interestingly, weight-wise, Bosch has really caught up to DJI. So weight-wise, on the Gen 5 system with the battery on the 800 watts, it's half a kilo. 440 grams difference between the Bosch and the DJI. DJI is still lighter, don't get me wrong, but it's half a kilo, which, okay, matters. Every gram counts, as it does in quads, but they're definitely catching up. What's incredibly interesting is how DJI are getting this power. So we know DJI are rated at, well, no, they're all rated at 250 watts because that's the bullshit regulations that require it. They're not 250 watts. It's just a consumption measurement taken over a period of usage, and it must average 250 watts. That's what that comes to, okay? What's interesting is the peak power. Now, if you look at this, 600 watts, 600 watts, 600 watts, 500 watts, DJI is 850, but it will boost to 1,000, okay? DJI is getting more torque most of the time. Now, this is where I think things are really interesting, because the truth is, DJI may have some better design with regards to motors. So Avanox motor might be in, some nicer design elements. But DJI is not going to be incredibly more efficient. So, for DJI to get that number, what comes out must go in. So the truth of the matter is, they must be allowing a lot more consumption from the battery. It's physics. It can only be, they cannot make the power from nowhere. So the only real difference here is DJI are opening the taps more on the consumption. Now, what is going to be interesting is the effect that has on the battery over time. Because when you look at the values, and I did the C rating math on the batteries of what their C rating was, and on the 800, right, on the Avanox, they're using about 27 amps of power at 1,000 watts. Okay? Because if you work out the battery's the consumption of the motor at the voltage, 36 volts, Ohm's law, they're about 27 amps of consumption. Okay? The battery is 22.3 amp hour. So we're talking about 1.4 C of consumption, okay, on the 800 watt battery, which on a LiPo is nothing. But on a lithium ion, I'm thinking. But where this gets interesting is, what is the 600 battery going to survive like? And I do wonder the long-term effects of this boost and this current, because they don't have a magical wand they can wave to create power out of nowhere. More out means more's going in. It's as simple as that. And it's going to be interesting. But what also comes on top of this is DJI have introduced very fast charging as well, which the others haven't done as much. And that is also going to have an impact on heat and an impact on longevity on the batteries. Now, DJI do rate their batteries to 80% at 500 cycles. Bosch and the others rate their battery about 60% to 1,000 cycles. It's the same math, whichever way you do it. But I just wonder what the battery longevity would be like if you were on that boost button all the time. It's interesting. It's incredibly interesting. But this isn't magical. What goes out must come in. It's got all DJI must be doing here. I think if you want the truth of my money, I will bet that DJI is using a higher RPM with lower gearing than Bosch. I reckon DJI is spinning the motor up faster and heavily gearing it to give you the torque and the boost, compared to Bosch, who is running at a lower RPM. And that's what I suspect the fundamental diff. Bosch know how to make a motor. Bosch know how to make a motor. So this is, DJI have done something different. They're using a planetary gear for starters, which is always cool to see. For those who does not love a planetary gear, there's just always amazing. I love planetary gears. They just, really cool. We just love it. But look, we're going to have to wait and see how this holds up. We are just going to have to wait and see how it holds up. DJI might have a bit of efficiency in the motor, but it's not that much. It cannot be that much. It's just not possible. And if it is, someone will copy it in short order. Yeah. I want to know what the hard range is limit with goggles 204, G304. No one knows. And it will be weeks before it comes out, before people test it. You got to take into account the people who are testing these units will have one. They're not going to go and risk fucking losing it on the first test. You're going to have to wait months for that, possibly, to find out. People will need to wait. I keep seeing that question. It's like, I'm not being a dick, but you're going to have to wait until it's out and people test it. Because if I was a tester, you ain't testing the maximum range. Because DJI are only ever giving you one. They're not giving you a second one. Bought new goggles and it came with a Steady View 3.3. Already own rapid fire modules. Should I use the rapid fire or sell it? A Steady View's okay. Generally okay. As long as your camera works for it. The only problem with the Steady Views is some people get rolling on them. Just see what it's like. As long as it behaves fine, you'll be fine. But yeah, look, credibly interested. Really interested in getting one. I genuinely am. I'd love to get the Amflow. I genuinely love to get the Amflow. They tested the Amflow motor on a test bench. Have they? Interesting. I haven't seen that. Have we seen what the wattage is getting yet? Has anyone done a pull on it? It's like it's simple. It's what you allow it to take. Look, the motor will go... It's gearing and motor. There's no magical solution here. DJI haven't... DJI haven't... you know, they're really good at motor control. What DJI will have possibly the legs on Bosch on is motor control. Because in drones, we're so far advanced compared to everyone else in motor control. We really are. You know, we're just on a different league. We really are. Right, I need to edit this bloody video and put it on the channel. You lot are amazing. Thank you very much. I need to say thank you. There was a couple of super chats before I finish up. Mike Bundy, $20. You git, Mike, but I love you. You're amazing. Thank you very much. And he's become a member of the channel as well. Anyway, guys, that's it. This was meant to be done by now. I'm going to now go and edit off that little bit of a video to try and make this, to try and do this. Adios, stay safe, look after yourselves. I'll speak to you guys soon.